The Vagrant is a hack and slash game with some platforming and RPG elements. It entered Steam Early Access in June 2017 and exited recently. That's about a year in early access, a good amount of time to iron out any kinks and get good feedback from players. But why am I mentioning any of this? Well, something strange is going on. When the Vagrant came out in early access, the price was $14.99, but right now it's $3.99. Games just don't decrease in price for launch. It's rude to the initial adopters. Now, I don't understand why they set the price so low or why it's lower now, but what I do know is that for $3.99, it's a steal. Anyway, the fighting is the main meat of the game. The RPG element is the gear and abilities tree. The platforming is simple and really just about getting from one place to another. The Vagrant resembles Dust and Elysian Tale, if you've played that. The Vagrant is fairly linear with limited backtracking. It always has an objective for you that's clearly marked on the map. I was never confused where I had to go or what I had to do. It can get kinda silly though. When one person needs an item, then the person that's supposed to tell you where that item is needs a different item and you gotta go find that, etc. There's really no chance to explore. Yeah, the game has side rooms, but it's not exploring if there's only one real way to go. I'm not mad though. That means it's a pure fighting game, which is the main obstacle. The game locks you into encounters as you progress, and you must defeat all the enemies to continue. Fairly standard hack and slash. The combat is solid, and you can feel every hit. It helps that the controls are really tight, and you can cancel out of attacks. Vivian has a lot of utility, with a double jump, dodge roll, and combos. The combos are something you have to unlock from the ability tree and memorize, but I just picked a few and stuck with them the whole game. They feel great to pull off though and have their own animation, and depending on which one, a ton of damage output. There's also a combo that will knock your enemies into the air and you can juggle them to an extent. As you hit enemies, they get stun locked. It's best to catch all the enemies in your attack or else you'll need to keep an eye out so you can dodge the enemies behind you. The speed of the combat is key, since it's fast, but not too fast that it seems unfair or you're unable to dodge from attacks. The game is also rather generous with health drops, at least on normal. I was able to complete the game without too many deaths. As you get deeper into the game, the normal enemies become too easy to deal with. Getting locked in with them becomes more of a nuisance than anything else. What you'll realize, though, is that the Vagrant is all about the bosses. With 13 in total, they are the reason to continue. Each has a unique design that makes them seem huge and scary. They are the most difficult part of the game, and a lot of fun. You do, of course, just need to learn the pattern and different stages to defeat them. Still, they're my favorite part of the game. At some point, I switched and focused on finishing the game just to see them all. You can even go back to old areas, and an owl will let you pass through a rift with the more difficult version of the boss that was in the area. It's more challenging and fun, but it's useful since it drops more experience. It can be helpful when you're trying to level up for the end of the game. One thing I feel pretty bad about is killing the animals. They don't seem dangerous, and if I can hold off zombies and skeletons with ease, then why can't I just run past a few boars? A little boar is my biggest enemy? Really? I mean, I'm joking, but it's weird. Moving on. The equipment is tacked on, but I like fiddling with it. In later areas, the best weapons and armor just end up dropping, so I never had to worry about purchasing gear or which gear to equip. There is weapon, armor, and accessory slots. They're all pretty much straight stat upgrades. I always pick the sword with the most attack, and it's nice the model changes in-game. The thing is, you need to upgrade them with your experience, and you won't know the maximum final attack power of a weapon until it's at maximum level. Yeah, that seems obvious, but if you're obsessed with having the best gear, you must wait until a save point and max up each new sword until you know which one's the best. Kind of a pain in the ass. The Vagrant also has runes you can slot into your gear with small buffs. However, they don't drop a lot, and most of the time I had nothing slotted. I don't know if this is a new game plus mechanic, but because they're so scarce, I mostly ignored them. There's an ability tree too, and to unlock nodes you spend experience. As you expect, experience drops from enemies and you have to collect it, but there's plenty. You could even go back to old areas and collect that experience again in an attempt to unlock all nodes. It's definitely not required though. I only went down a few paths. The wide open tree seems like it gives you a lot of options for skilling up Vivian, but it's more linear than you expect. There are items you must collect that unlock the tree, and you can only find them as you progress the story. You can't rush to an item and get it. It's so the player doesn't outlevel the content. I just focused on the nodes that were for improving stats because it seemed to be the best upgrade. I'm a big fan of passive upgrades. Determining if you want a combo is difficult because you're unsure if it's any good. Eventually they get so cheap there's no reason not to pick them up. At this point, you must be wondering why I haven't mentioned the art style yet. Well, I don't want to judge. This is not my style of game, but if you like it, okay. The art is well done and I like the enemy design a lot. I realize it's a style, and personally, I think it's pretty silly. And, that's all I really have to say about that. The story, though, it's a mess. Perhaps because of the linear nature of the game, it just feels like a series of unfortunate events to Vivian. It's all pretty outlandish and really paints Vivian with the moral high ground constantly. The story also is missing a ton of backstory for the world, and it's sorely missed. There seems to be so much between the rune wardens and the wizards, which is just all left out in this game. I have no idea why they're so mad at each other. If you just focus on the fighting, then none of that matters anyway, and that's what I would suggest. One thing to note is that the game has two different endings, a normal one and a good one. The good one requires jumping through some hoops, and I skipped it. There are a few shortcomings that range from slightly annoying to me almost giving up on the game. For example, the game is much better played with the D-pad on the controller. The input must be digital. Using the thumbstick, I had a ton of accidental inputs. Also, saving is not very generous. There are only certain save points, and if you die, you'll have to restart over at them. The progress setback can be quite significant. The biggest issue, though, was the unskippable cutscenes. There's a cutscene before every boss, so that means if you fail, you have to watch the whole thing over again. I almost quit on the final boss because I kept dying, and the cutscene is so long. I am so sick and tired of watching that stupid cutscene over and over again. What seems like such a good idea at the time, it just is so annoying the 5th or 6th time through. If you're going to force me to return to the save point and then rewatch all the cutscenes, now you're wasting my time. Overall, I like the Vagrant, and I found the combat to be a lot of fun, even if I was only playing to fight the bosses. It took me about 9 hours to complete, so there's a really big game here, and you can restart and play New Game Plus with all the gear you collected in your first run. Now, I wouldn't have normally picked up the Vagrant because of the art style, but I'm glad I got to play it. Either way, it's cheap now and a lot of fun. If you like hack and slash games and don't mind the art, then I say give it a go. Thanks for watching.